Okay, so the 15 Pro Max has been my iPhone carry since December of 2023, and even though this is one of the best iPhones Apple has ever made, the 13 mini is still my favorite iPhone that Apple has ever made. If you know, you know. The 16 lineup has been out for a little while, and I haven't really felt the need to get one. I'll get around to it though. I went with natural titanium, and I will always be a fan of this color. It's a clean look that fits perfectly into my boring neutral color phase, though I'm still pretty salty that Apple never dropped that rumored deep red variant. Whew, that would have been the one. Anyway, Hardwell. My name is Walter Hardwell White. Hardware has held up well. I'm still liking the rounded titanium frame. These displays do scratch pretty easily, so I've been using a screen protector. Took it off for the video though. Battery life was the biggest reason why I switched to the Pro Max from the regular Pro. That measly 3,274 milliamp hours just wasn't cutting it for me. I needed more. Otherwise, that would likely still be my iPhone carry right now. With the Pro Max, battery's been solid. Not outstanding, not awful, but solid. I've been able to clock in an average of around 6 hours of screen on time with mixed usage over the year. With heavier use, it reaches lower percentages earlier in the day than I'd like, especially for a Pro Max. There have been days when I was able to reach 8 hours of screen on time on a single charge, albeit with much lighter use. Disabling always on display does help out a little bit, but the trade-off isn't worth it in my opinion, so I prefer to keep it on. As always though, when it comes to battery performance, your mileage may vary, so keep that in mind. I think a single charge provides enough juice for plenty of messaging, emails, web browsing, picture taking, and social media doom scrolling throughout the day. And when it comes to higher brightness levels, heavy maps usage, phone calls, gaming, media streaming, photo and video taking and editing, things like that, I will say, it leaves a bit to be desired for a $1,200 phone. And the same thing goes for charging speeds. It takes around 2 hours to charge this thing from 0 to 100%. It's time to catch up. Admittedly, I am nitpicking a bit here. Like I said, battery is decent for a phone in this class, it's just not the greatest. Oh, and for the battery health police out there, this one's for you. This phone is currently sitting at 96% capacity after 12 months of use on mostly wired charging and occasional wireless charging, so there's that. I don't read too deeply into battery health. I feel it causes a lot of unnecessary paranoia. It's just what happens with batteries. Dread it, run from it, batteries degrade, all the same. Okay, sorry. Overall performance in simply using the phone has been good. Nothing to really complain about speed and power wise specifically. This A17 Pro chip is a beast and it will be for a long time, making this a great gaming phone as more high-end games get released and more progress is made in the emulation scene. The whole overheating thing has kind of leveled out over time. Early on, the phone would heat up quite a bit while doing something as simple as watching a YouTube video. Now it only gets really warm whenever I'm editing raw format photos in Lightroom or something. Now, during the summer here in Texas, as I'm sure you can imagine, the phone did break a sweat during some normal use, but at this point, it's not a genuine issue for me. The fluidity of iOS is still one of the iPhone's biggest upsides in my book. I think certain Android OSs and OEM skins have gotten extremely close and continue to close that gap by putting more attention to detail into animations and whatnot, but I think iPhones still hold the pole position when it comes to fluidity throughout the OS. Dynamic Island, the updated Siri, the new visual reactions to pressing the side buttons, it's all eye candy. It's great. But iOS isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Detailed and well thought out animations are great and all, but they're only a piece of this apple pie. Okay, thanks, now I'm hungry. I could destroy a piece of apple pie right now. Anyway, the It Just Works bandwagon is a bandwagon that I just haven't been able to hop on over the years. While that might be the experience of many users out there, that hasn't been the case for me. What has been the case for me, however, is this, and this, and this, and yeah, you get the point. PITAKA has been killing it with their cases this year. I've been using these ones for a while and I've gotten numerous compliments on them, but just recently, PITAKA teamed up with London luxury streetwear brand Aries to launch these. As usual, these cases have unique, eye-catching designs and patterns with high-quality woven aramid fiber, but what separates these ones in particular is that they glow in the dark. Yeah, And the kicker here is that these elements aren't just printed onto the case. PITAKA is using their new Lumintex, a super thin polymer fiber with luminescent properties that's actually woven into the case, making it the first weavable luminescent material. It absorbs light efficiently and it looks fantastic in the dark. As always, these cases look great, they feel great, and they just scream quality. This lineup has 3 different styles to choose from, and you can check them out using the very first link in the description and the pinned comment below. Huge thanks to PITAKA for sponsoring this portion of today's video. AirDrop used to be downright magical, and as of now, it's not as consistent as it once was, for me anyway. The disappearing widget bug happened a handful of times throughout the year, but I think that's been fixed recently. Then there's the whole Google apps work better on iPhones LOL thing. With YouTube, picture-in-picture has had a tendency to freeze while the audio keeps playing, and sometimes the image will go completely blank. It gets annoying fast. It's happened a few times where on both iOS 18 and 17, I try to upload photos and videos to Google Drive straight from the Photos app, then this happens. It just kind of gives up. This appears to be fixed now though, fingers crossed. 3 times within the past week, my phone did a little respring out of nowhere. If you don't know what that is, it just does one of these for a few seconds and resets. Also, side note, it's pretty mind-boggling that we've made it to iOS 18 and Apple still hasn't created a better method to go back. Doing this is so tired at this point, and it's not even applicable in many areas of the OS. Also, still can't change the grid size of the home screen. It would only make sense for a near 7-inch display, right? Now, don't get it twisted. Android might have figured this out a long time ago, but it certainly has its fair share of bugs and quirks that I'll get into another time. Count on it. Since we're on the topic, iOS 18 dropped a little while ago. I'm not gonna dive into every single new thing, but let's talk about it for a bit. The new customizable control center is a bit questionable, but it is nice that you can make it your own, sorta, kinda. It's pretty janky though. Getting toggles to stay where you want them while you're trying to rearrange things is borderline impossible. Toggles can up and disappear randomly too. It's kind of annoying. There is now a proper way to turn off your phone without having to use physical buttons here too, which is nice. RCS is finally here. The path to get to this point, much like getting USB-C, wasn't ideal, but we will gladly take it. The Photos app redesign was thoroughly off-putting at first, as I know it was for many people out there, but with a little tweaking, it can become palatable. The Photos app does have a new AI-based feature called Cleanup, which lets you erase unwanted objects in your photos. It works surprisingly well, perhaps better than other versions of this feature found in other phones. I found myself changing what the bottom left button activates on the lock screen from time to time because, you know, you can do that now, but I've usually reserved the right button for the camera since there's no button for that there other than the action button, of course. But for the majority of my time using this phone, I've kept the action button set to act as a mute switch. Now, recently, I switched it to launch the camera. Haha, look at me now, I have camera control, not really. But the thing is, I don't even need or necessarily want a dedicated camera control button. All I need is for Apple to listen up and let us choose what the existing buttons do. I know there are third-party apps and methods that can help expand functionality, but like I was saying last year in my 15 Pro video, I would really like for Apple to let me add a single press and a double press, maybe even a triple press to the action button in addition to the current long press. And then let me change what a double press of the power button does. What if I don't want it to open Apple Pay? Speaking of the power button, can y'all add Touch ID already? My goodness. So you can finally move icons wherever you want on the home screen. Groundbreaking, I know. I've admittedly been way too lazy to reorganize my home screen and switch up the look of the icons. Plus, I like this current look a lot, but believe me, I'll get to it. It's funny though, because now we're capable of making some pretty horrifying setups.
Brother,
Oh, and I think we're long overdue for actual proper icon pack functionality. No use of shortcuts, no workarounds, just download a pack from the App Store, apply it, boom, done. It only makes sense maybe next year, or the year after, or the year after. Or the Siri's brand new animation is neat. I don't love it or hate it. It's not exactly what I would expect from Apple, but it's here now. And it wouldn't be an iPhone review without another interesting Siri interaction now, would it? What day is Christmas on this year? Okay, don't want to just give me the answer. That's totally fine. What day is Christmas on this year?
This year,
Christmas is on Wednesday, December 25th,
Exactly what I was looking for. What day does Christmas fall on this year? Still looking for web results, but got the general idea. When is Christmas this year? There we go. I got it. That wasn't too hard, was it? To be fair, this isn't the new Siri yet. I guess that's coming in March or something. But what we do have via iOS 18.2 is Genmoji, Image Playground, and ChatGPT integration. So Genmoji and Image Playground, they work. They do what they're supposed to do. They use AI to generate emojis and images, respectively, based on the text prompts that you feed them. They're pretty fun, but I don't see myself using these very often, if at all. And ChatGPT works with Siri now, and Siri will hand over the reins to ChatGPT if she's not able to help you with your request or whatever. And ChatGPT is actually baked into the settings app, and you can even log into your account from there if you have one. Yeah, the integration runs pretty deep. There are a handful of other features in iOS 18 that I'll get into in another video, maybe when all of the promised features eventually come out. Okay, so the cameras, they're good, very good. Everything's pretty much what you would expect. You get sharp, detailed shots with good color and dynamic range. They perform well in just about every scenario and lighting condition. They're not perfect, of course, but they're very consistent and some of the easiest to pick up and use. I didn't really find myself using the 5X super often. It's there when I need it, and it can push out some good results. I just prefer to use the 2X most of the time. But yeah, I like what I got out of these over the last year. Oh, and I know you're not really supposed to point your camera at the sun, but I did for a couple seconds during the eclipse earlier this year, and this is what I got. Now, I mostly shoot photos in Pro RAW format, and I try to edit photos as I'm still not the biggest fan of Apple's image processing in certain shots. I am nowhere near a professional photographer, but I do appreciate the openness you get to edit photos for sharing and whatnot. I haven't shot much video footage in log, but having the ability to is always a plus as it adds to what makes the Pro iPhones more pro, I guess. I do want to mess around with this more though. I think I said that same exact thing last year. As usual, regular video footage comes out looking great. Now, this is where iPhone cameras really excel. I know what I'm going to get in terms of consistency and overall quality. I do still prefer the Pixel for point and shoot shots, but honestly, the iPhone's complete camera system from top to bottom is hard to top. I like the 15 Pro Max. It's a good phone that doesn't really miss on much. Up until a few months ago, this was the best iPhone ever made. It's got a big, beautiful display, a premium build, great cameras, solid battery life, excellent performance, nice sounding speakers, and a growing set of features. But I gotta be real, the current state of the iPhone is kind of boring to me. I don't need jaw-dropping innovation, but it is going to take a bit more than a slightly larger display with thinner bezels and a camera control button to get me genuinely thrilled to get the new iPhone again. And this isn't simply a matter of the 16 being a small one-year iterative bump up from this phone. I've felt this way about iPhones for years, and it's to the point I feel I could get away with switching back to my 3-year-old iPhone 13 mini in 2025. If you want to see a video on that, let me know. But don't get it twisted. Bugs, glitches, and certain other issues have been fixed with software updates. All things considered, so what if it's boring? It's reliable, and it more than gets the job done. We'll see what 2025 has to offer though. Rumor has it that this will be the year that things get switched up a little. As of now though, Apple is clearly all in on this pivot towards AI. Granted, they're not the only ones. I mean, who isn't cannonballing into the AI pool these days? Personally, I'm not convinced it's going to be the absolute game changer Apple is hyping it up to be, but only time will tell. Anyway, this 15 Pro Max will soon have a new home, and I'll move on to the latest model, but I know I could easily go years using this. My sister is still using my old 14 Pro Max and it's working just fine. I know people that are still using their 11s, their 12s, 13 Pro Maxes. If you're in the market for an upgrade and you're not too impressed with the 16 lineup, or you just want to save a buck, a discounted 15 Pro Max is an easy recommendation to make. If you have a 15 Pro Max or you're thinking about getting one, let me know your thoughts on it, as well as your thoughts on the current state of the iPhone in general. Let's talk. Thanks for sticking around to this point of the video. You are awesome. Go ahead and drop a potato in the comments if you're part of the potato gang, and thank you so much for watching.